Hello, Setup Man Nation. By the look on Ty's face, you know what kind of show this is going to be. Before we get into that, though, we just wanted to quick mention, so there was an incident at PNC Park tonight. It stopped the game. I know I was getting a lot of texts. Ty, I'm sure you were too. So before we even start the show, thoughts and prayers to the gentleman that it sounded like he fell off the Clemente wall. And for those that aren't familiar, in Pittsburgh, PNC Park, they have a 21-foot wall in right field to honor Roberto Clemente. It sounds, and you can look up the video on X. We're not going to talk about it after this, but pretty horrendous fall. It just looks like he fell over the wall and he was stretchered off and no report since. So thoughts and prayers, kind of a bummer to start. We know we do have a great show for you, so make sure you stick around. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button. But another frustrating game, but let's get into it on Setup Man Postgame Show right now. Welcome into the Setup Man Postgame Show. Sorry for the bummer to start. I am Alex. You can find me at AJ Brault on social media. That is Setup Man. Ty with me. That is also his social media handle, so make sure to follow him there. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for us, and make sure to get in the comment section. Today was one of those games. I'm sure y'all got opinions as per usual, but today a little extra frustrating. So my guess is y'all will have stuff to say. Yeah, and then if you didn't listen to us yesterday, we are changing the format of the show a little bit. So as the Setup Man Network continues to grow and evolve, we want to make sure we are giving you the best content in the Cubs space. However, with a time crunch, taking callers at the very end of the show just takes away from stuff that we really need to talk about. And there has been a ton of news the last week, and we're just guessing with the way the front office is operated, there's going to be more news. So we want to make sure that we give you the best content out there. So calls will just be more occasional. All right. All that out of the way. Somebody, anybody, Ty, we're starting here. Can somebody, please, for the love of God, at third base, field a ground ball? Because it happened again. John Birdie misses a ground ball, leads to 2 runs, Cubs lose. That was the difference in the game tonight. How many times are we going to do this?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, it's infuriating. And I know I'm screaming into my mic, and if you're listening on audio later, I apologize. But so here's my question as I calm down and collect myself. Matt Shaw's heating up at AAA. And I don't want to just be – the prospects will be the savior because obviously Matt Shaw has his issues there too. But do you think at this point – I personally have seen enough. We've lost enough games from third basemen either whiffing or making errors. Does this constant problem make you or should make the front office want to push Shaw to the big leagues or bring him back even faster than you probably would otherwise?
I don't really see that they have any form of a resolution, and they're going to continue to lose games. They want to be this, proactive approach as of late, but they keep putting Band-Aids on their problems. Look, the Cubs have made 17 errors now this season. Almost half of them are from your third baseman of some form. So it's the problem is too, dude, is that even if Matt Shaw comes up, you're not going to get this out of the world player. You might
Sure.
get lucky, But that's what the Cubs are doing over there with that position. They've done it since Chris Bryant. They continue to try to get lucky. And the fact is that Matt Shaw was going to come up at a time that we all thought before we got Kyle Tucker, we thought we were to get him in a position where, he can continue to build. We might have a playoff team. Well, now you have a playoff team. You have a team that can make the playoffs, but this is not a team right now that can be successful in the playoffs. And the reasons why are because every single time in a close game this year, almost every single time, they've either screwed it up with the pen or they've screwed it up with third base. And that is the only two reasons right now this team will not be successful in the playoffs. Because if you're going all in, Jed Hoyer, if you're going all in, there can't be a situation where you have such a hole over at a premier position on the field. Like, if Kyle Tucker doesn't sign back with this organization, you still have a major hole. That needs to be fixed as soon as tomorrow. And honestly, Alex, I'm willing to take the Shaw struggles at the dish right now for a guy who could play frickin' third base.
Yeah,
I really am.
No, and look, I was going to save it for the second segment, but just for Setup Man Nation, I have a really, really fun second segment planned. So I'm just going to skip the show. We're going to have that conversation right now. So Matt Shaw, 2 for 3 with a double and 2 walks today. His 4th consecutive multi-hit game after struggling when he was first demoted to Iowa. I mean, the hard hit rate is still down, which is still a bit of a concern. However, at this point, is there a high school kid that they can call up to just field ground balls? I don't know how hard it is. Maybe we were spoiled with the likes of Aramis Ramirez and whoever was after Aramis for those 3 years that they were terrible, Luis Valbuena. I mean, I don't understand. And I just dropped my pen out of frustration.
You did, and I heard it. It was very loud.
I don't know how hard it is to find. And look, they can hit like John Birdie, hit a $180. I don't even care. Someone to play defense that doesn't have concrete feet or a concrete glove. Someday when I grow up, maybe we'll find that. But we
can't win close games. I'm sorry. We cannot win close games. Yes, we may have won 1 or 2. Okay. Yes. For the people that want to correct our errors on this show, this team cannot win a close game. I don't care. Look, tonight you were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that may end up finishing last in the NL Central.
Probably will.
And you embarrassed yourselves. You embarrassed yourselves. It was an awful look. And the part too that's funny is the bullpen. Like, I thought Counsell managed the bullpen tremendously tonight. In that situation, you absolutely are bringing Thielbar in after Keller right there, because technically the only player on the Pirates, maybe besides McCutchen, who can really be a legitimate threat, is O'Neal Cruz.
Correct.
Okay. O'Neal Cruz doesn't have a good OPS against lefties, right? Same with Brian Reynolds, who's a switch hitter. So he managed that beautifully, I thought, in that situation. Unfortunately, he doesn't get Reynolds in that situation where Reynolds gets a single with 2 outs, make it first and second. And of course, the one and only Andrew McCutchen, of all players, decides to have clutch 2-out hit, and then Dansby Swanson sliding with his feet to stop the ball instead of his glove. But overall, Alex, it just sucks because this team is so damn close. They're so close to being such a talented ball club. It's so close, man.
Yes.
I sit there. I'm watching this game tonight. I'm watching this game, and I'm sitting there, and I watch that error, and I go, there it is.
Yeah.
It's like somebody's just sitting over the field, man, and they're just like sprinkling this little evil dust right onto the Cubs and saying, this is when things will turn south. And boom.
Yeah.
And I thought legitimately, I was like, okay, maybe this team will, have a comeback tonight, because we're facing a guy in David Bednar who hasn't been good since, 2018. And it's like a Major League Baseball player is so talented and such, and especially for a third baseman, it should be such a sure glove.
Yeah.
I could just go on and on, dude. It just sucks. It just sucks.
And I told you pre-game show, whatever. I told you before the show off air, like we should have seen this coming because the Cubs had a lot of bad luck tonight. There were multiple hard hit balls that literally the outfielders didn't even move. They just stood there like, oh, okay, got that. Then the Dansby play at the end of the game, weak ground ball. It's in between him and Nico. He can't dive because he'll overdive it. He can't reach for it and just grab it. I don't think they're getting McCutchen anyway, but of course, just to knock it down, he slides. Well, of course, it kicks off his foot, 2-run score. It was just bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. But you know what's not bad luck? Fielding routine ground freaking balls. Birdie makes that play, they're out of it. And the way the bullpen looked tonight, I'm glad you mentioned the bullpen. Pitching tonight,
outstanding.
Matt, the bullpen was awesome. Pomerantz, that might be a fine, man. I know it's only been 2 outings, but he's looked really good.
Keller was awesome as well.
Yep.
And Hodge, who came into a very, let's be very clear here. Hodge came into a very, like we already mentioned at the beginning of the show, folks, we aren't going to talk about it further. That is an awful situation to come into for any kind of player. I don't care who you are. Yep. And he still found a way. And I give him a lot of credit. But Alex, it sucks when one play, and it feels like the Cubs haven't played a team this year where that one play has happened to another team. It's only happened to us. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm just emotional, and that's why I'm missing that important point. But I just want to – it sucks. It just sucks,
yeah.
Man.
Between unlucky, but then let's say what it was. Tonight, you're going to have games like this, but it's frustrating because this team is good. They pissed on themselves tonight. They just right down their leg, and that was that. And some of it was luck. Some of it wasn't. Even the first runs that Pittsburgh scored in the game, it was a pitching wedge shot from Ke'Bryan Hayes, who's batting like 213, that just drops in front of Tucker. It's like this game was just unlucky. You're going to have these. But the frustrating part is that tomorrow they got to face Paul Skeens. And we know how that goes. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But we're already 15 minutes in. That 15 minutes went quick. So,
way too fast.
Yeah. So this might be a 40-minute show. So just stick around. But let's get into some news and notes real quick. So the Cubs are finally calling up, I feel like my favorite pitcher, because you and I, every time we've had a show together, we've talked about this dude. Chris Flexen is up at the big league club. He is 30 years old. In 5 starts at AAA, had a 1.16 ERA. And this is an interesting nugget I didn't know. He needed to be added to the MLB roster by tomorrow at the latest, or else he was a free agent. And obviously that's not an arm you can lose at this point because you need pitching depth. So he is up. Tom Cosgrove, who just sniffed the big leagues, sent back to Iowa. So, and Javier Assad was transferred to the 60-day IL to create room on the 40-man roster. So kind of cements what we thought. Assad's going to be out for a lot longer, and Flexen, they value at least enough to keep in the bullpen. It was discussed before the game that he's going to have the Colin Ray role before Colin Ray got into the rotation. So we'll see what that entails because Colin Ray was on a milk carton for the first couple of weeks. So we'll see. But the news of the day, I want to get into this because this storyline is getting out of control. Cubs have their top catching prospect, Moises Ballesteros. Folks, if you don't know the name, you're going to want to learn it. He's a shot caller. His nickname is Mo Baller. I can't remember what rap song that is. Anyway, he's the number 4. Preseason was the number 4 prospect for the Cubs and number 68 in all of baseball. He comes in at a height of 6'8", not your typical ball player. 6'8", 195 pounds. He's 21.
5'8".
That's according to MLB.com.
Moises Ballesteros is not 6'8".
Did I say 6'8"? I meant 5'8".
Oh my god!
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
I thought. Okay, keep going. Go. You're rolling, my friend. You're rolling. Keep going.
5'8" Moises Ballesteros. So before we get into his stats, there's some scouting grades. If you don't know what these are, I have this graphed out here. So scouting grades are what grades scouts give these prospects. So you can see here from the graphic on a scale of 20 to 80, why we don't just do 0 to 100, beyond me. But 80 is like the elite skill that you have versus, 20, which is pretty awful. And Daniel Vogelbach in this example, if you don't know, big man, not known for his running. So I have Ballesteros' scouting grades here that I want to just go through quick. So I'll put this back up on the screen. Ballesteros hit tool rates at a 60, so that is a plus skill set. Power 55, that is above average. So you're looking around 18 to 25 homers with this kind of grade. Running 30, so poor. He's not known for his speed, although he does have 3 stolen bases on the season. Fielding 40, below average, nothing crazy with his glove. And his arm is a 50, so about major league average. So the reason we're talking about him is he's got a 16-game hit streak, and he extended it today by hitting not 1, but 2 home runs. The guy is on fire. So in his 16-game hit streak, he's batting, and this is a real number, he's batting .492, which is absurd. He's gone 30 for his last 61. He's basically hitting 500, and he's walked as many times as he struck out. Folks, Kyle Tucker does that at the big leagues. Like, it's crazy. And another fun fact, he's played 23 games with Iowa this season. He's only not hit in 3 of them. This kid seems to be big league ready. But the problem, which we're going to talk about right now, is where does he go? On the season, he's batting .402 with a .459 on-base percentage. So getting on base almost half the time. 4 homers, 16 RBIs, and as I mentioned, 3 steals. But the issues are, where does he go? Now, Podfather Kyle talked to Rachel Folden, who's the hitting coordinator for the Chicago Cubs minor league system. There were some questions about his defense, but let's hear what she has to say.
My last question about Moises is the defense. Everyone keeps on wondering, is he going to be able to sustain being a major league catcher? And a lot of people seem to want to just be pigeonholing him into a DH role. Well, guess what? Seiya Suzuki is a DH. I don't really see where you get any at-bats there. So what do you see from the defense? Is it transferable to the majors right now?
Yeah, he can catch.
Yeah?
Yeah, he can catch.
Okay, leave it at that.
Yep.
All right.
It's not my domain, but I'll tell you right now, from being in the dugout, the dude can catch.
Okay. I like it. Arm? Does he have an arm?
Yeah, he can
Cool.
catch. I wouldn't
All right.
say he could, it's not like he has anything that's like glaring deficiencies. The guy's a good catcher. I think if you watch and look at how much his body has changed, I think 99% of the reservations about Moises Ballesteros are simply just what we say by looking at him, because he's 5'9", and he's been somebody who's been a little bit on the bigger side for majority of them. Look at him now. The guy looks great, but if you just look at his ability, there's nothing to suggest that that's ever held him back in any way. So
the question still remains, because those issues still are there. So, Ty, what do you do with the left-handed hitting catcher prospect for the Chicago Cubs?
That's a great question, Alex. I think if you go on X, a lot of people have discussed this today. And we saw, of course, what Craig Counsell said, where right now this is not an opportunity. So I understand that this isn't an opportunity. I would just be curious to know is with the roster right now. So if you look at the roster right now, so the negatives about bringing Ballesteros up, right? 3 catchers on the roster. Obviously, everyone knows about that. Does not have defensive versatility. Only 1 game at first base thus far in AAA. Finally, not a speedster, even at 6'8", right? Right, Alex? 6'8".
Yeah.
But at the 5'8", absolute, Ted Williams-like hitter at the dish, unfortunately, is limited on the value that he can provide to the lineup. It does not mean that he is not a good hitter and wouldn't be successful at the major league level. So the way I kind of looked at this situation was this, and I'd be curious to know your thoughts, Alex. So let's just say Moises comes up, right? So you got 3 catchers. You'll have Bush and Turner at first base, because you still have to have Turner on the roster. You cannot have just 1 player on the roster right now that can play first base, okay? Second base, you have Nico, Brujan, Birdie. Shortstop, you'd have Swanson, Horner, Vidal, Brujan. And third base, you have Birdie, Brujan, and Turner, okay? Left field, of course, is all covered by Hap, Seiya, PCA, Tucker, and Brujan. There's a name on there right now that we wouldn't technically need, which would be Nicky Lopez. Now, the problem with this whole situation, so just really quick before I move on to my next point. So technically, I would think if this were to somehow happen, like just this, universe that's probably not realistic, you'd probably have to get rid of Nicky Lopez, which who's going to be mad about that? No offense to Nicky Lopez, but realistically, that's your ideal option to remove from the roster right now from the offensive standpoint, okay? The other situations, of course, that are more realistic at this point is if Amaya or Kelly, unfortunately, has an injury, Seiya has an injury, or, which this has happened last year, the team has a horrific offensive stretch over a month long, right? If it's just a month long, I don't want it to be the reason you bring them up. The last point I'll bring up, hopefully I'm answering your question here, Alex. I'm doing the best I can because there's so much to bring up here. So you take the roster, okay, you bring up your little, unique sort of situation of where this could happen, okay? Number 2 are more realistic scenarios like we just alluded to. We were talking about injuries or a poor offensive stretch. The last thing, though, is you look at the development of the player. And this is where I actually have to ask you a question, Alex. Ooh. Right now, okay, Carson Kelly is on this roster this year, next year, and has a mutual option the following season, which I believe that would be 2027, okay? So that's 3 years. Miguel Amaya is still under his pre-arb deals, and so he's on the roster for, I believe, until 2029, 2030, excuse me. Where are you going to find an opportunity to put this guy in the lineup except when possibly Seiya leaves?
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, which is why I wanted to have this conversation, because clearly, and I don't know, defensively, I didn't look at that because right now, offense, he's mastered AAA. He has nothing left to prove. But the problem is, what value does he bring your ball club right now? What is his value? And what I mean by that is he more valuable in your lineup? I mean, who wouldn't want an awesome left-handed bat in their lineup? But the problem is the way the roster is structured right now. Do you want him as just a bench guy? I wouldn't, not a young guy. Do you want him in the lineup every day? I do, but where's that going to happen? Minus injury. But it's a good problem to have. But I guess the base of this question is, what role do you want him to have? Because, yeah, Nicky Lopez, okay, you could get rid of him. Justin Turner at this point, I like the dude. I respect the dude. I'm kind of just washing my hands of that. He hasn't really done much. So could he fill in for Turner when Turner DHs? Maybe. But Turner's kind of the hit lefty guy, so that doesn't really help you. Although his minor league stats, fun fact, limited sample, Ballesteros is actually hitting lefties better than righties, which is crazy. And I just saw that comment flash up. I know
There's
you're going to...
hilarious comments. I do apologize, folks. I should have posted some of them earlier, but I think some of these are pretty good, so I'm going to keep posting. But Alex, continue your point, please.
No, the problem is what is his best value? And I saw someone say we're going to trade him. Maybe that's the best value he has for the Cubs. I mean, as I said, who doesn't want a left-handed bat? But if you can trade him, and maybe because he's doing so well, maybe a little less for a package for a Sandy Alcantara or a Pablo Lopez, maybe for this version of this team, that's what makes the most sense right now.
Couldn't agree more. I sincerely mean this. I would rather, in my answer to this final question, because I know we got a few more things to touch on. My final answer to this question is that for the good of the organization and the good of the player, you leave him at AAA because it helps him as a player. Yep. And for the organization, if you're looking to trade him, okay, if you're looking to trade him, he's just building his value more and more and more and more. Okay. What that looks like in the eyes of other organizations, we do not know. We have no idea what these other organizations think of Moises Ballesteros, because I've seen a lot of people say, "Hey, we can, excuse me, I just hit my mic. That's how angry I am. We'll be able to trade him for, Sandy Alcantara." What if the Marlins see no opportunity for him to play any other position besides catcher? Does that limit what his actual trade value is and how good he is defensively? Right? Because that's been a concern. Yeah. It's been a concern. So I'm a little hesitant on the whole, he's going to get us this massive piece. I think we're going to have to add in something else that's a little bit more value defensively. But look, the bat plays. I love to have him in the lineup. I think he's a great insurance piece to have for this year.
Yeah, I think at least for now, I agree with you. But come July, because let's face it, what team wouldn't want someone who's hitting 500 at AAA for a month? Like, the Marlins need somebody. The Twins need somebody. There's going to be someone that you can make a deal with that's going to be like, oh, even if it's just a DH, here's a dude that's hitting 400 at AAA, almost 500. That's crazy. So to wrap this up, yeah, I think at this point we've both kind of settled on this kid can hit. He's ready. But for this particular Cubs team and this build for this year, this is what sucks, is because now we almost have to have well, do you risk everything for this year? How good are you actually? Versus keeping him until whatever, the 2030s. But again, even when Seiya's gone, when Carson Kelly's gone, is he just going to be a DH? And maybe that's good enough. But his value right now might be as a trade piece. So, and this team is good. As much complaining that we did in the first segment, this team is good, and that's why we're frustrated. So, this team has a shot, a real shot. They're one of the best teams in the National League, in my opinion. Maybe that's a trade chip that you have to cash in. So, I guess that's a conversation for another day, and we have to talk about tomorrow's matchup. But first, before we do that, let's hear a little message from our friends at Obvious Shirts.
Setup Nation, I want to take a quick break so that you know how you can support our channel and wear some cool swag like this. We've teamed up with Obvious Shirts to give you a chance to have your very own Setup Man shirt or hat. Pick from 3 different types of shirts or my personal favorite, the trucker hat. Go to the link in the description of this video and podcast to claim your Setup Man apparel. And thank you so much for supporting our channel.
Thank you indeed for supporting our channel. But tomorrow, the Cubs need your support. They are wrapping up the series, the rubber match between the Cubs and Pirates tomorrow, 11:35 a.m. Central Time. So it's an early one, especially for you West Coasters like Ty and Kyle. It's an early one for you guys. The matchup, I said it earlier in the show, Paul Skeens will be taking the mound for the home Pirates. Colin Ray on the mound for the Cubs. Colin Ray coming in with a 1-0 record, a .96 ERA, which is just insane. 19 strikeouts on the campaign. Paul Skeens 3-2. Started off a little rough, but's really found it recently. He's got a 2.39 ERA and 39 strikeouts. Colin Ray in his career against Pittsburgh, he's played or appeared in 7 games, started 5 of them, 29 innings total, a 6.52 ERA, 21 earned runs allowed. That's a tough one to say. 21 Ks. Also, I did a little diving because I was like, I wonder if he pitches better at PNC. Baseball Reference. Thank you, because you had these stats. At PNC in his career, Colin Ray is 1-0 with a 2 ERA flat in only 9 innings, 5 Ks, and only 2 earned runs allowed. However, the other side of the matchup, Paul Skeens in his career against the Cubs, which feels like his entire career at this point, 2-0, a 2.25 ERA in 20 innings pitched. Funny enough, fun fact, he's pitched against one other major league team more than the Cubs. I couldn't believe it. Do you have a guess? It is a division team.
Cardinals.
You are correct. 26 2/3 against the Cardinals. We are second at 20 innings. 30 Ks, 5 earned runs allowed, and 8 walks for Skeens against the Cubs in his career. Is there anything, Ty, you're looking for tomorrow specifically in this matchup, other than just to beat Paul Skeens?
Hey, Alex, do you know how you beat Paul Skeens?
I don't. I would love for you to tell me.
You actually win the first 2 games of the series, so you're not worried about Paul Skeens tomorrow. So that's unfortunately
that's a good plan.
Not the case, and was a great plan before John Birdie played third base tonight. Okay, I'm forgetting your actual question because jokingly I told you before we jumped on this show, I've never gone more deep into numbers trying to figure stuff out about a guy. Folks, let's just be truthfully honest here. This is the best pitcher in the game, and I don't think it's even close. And I mean this sincerely. It's the good part is that the Cubs have faced him enough now. The problem is that he keeps getting better every single time the Cubs face him. So a couple things that I just want to give this guy a little bit of flowers. He averages about 6 2/3 per his starts this year. Only 2 walks in his last 5 starts. Did give up 5 earned runs against the St. Louis Cardinals on April 8th, which is a telling sign based on the fact that the Cardinals have seen him that much. So maybe that might be in the Cubs' favor. But his last 3 starts, he's only given up 3. He looked fantastic in LA last time out. Okay, here's where I could see the Cubs having an advantage. Number one, the point I made earlier, where they faced him enough at this point. They have enough data on him. They might be looking to have a better approach than they did today at the Dish. Okay, so teams he's faced thus far. So obviously performed very well against LA Dodgers. The Dodgers had the 2nd best OPS in all of baseball. That's fine. The Cardinals, though, have the 7th best OPS in baseball. He gave up 5 earned runs. The other teams he's faced, Cleveland, 19th overall in baseball. Washington, 17th. Tampa Bay Rays, 18th. And the Miami Marlins at 15th in overall OPS. So your Cubbies before tonight were at a 797 OPS, 3rd in baseball. So this is not a joke of a lineup that Paul Skeens has to face. I think all I can rely on at this point is the fact that this ball club has faced him enough times, and they're coming off of, which I tweeted the other day, or tweeted yesterday, Alex, this team is 4-0 against after tough losses this year. Okay, very tough losses that I would say. And so this would be such a tone setter for this for this ball club. If you can come out tomorrow after what you just experienced, all we needed is 2 out of 3. Okay, get 2 out of 3. We'd love to complain and moan and I could say some other words that I won't because I have a day job. But you can do something here. You can do something here. Even if you drag them out for 5 innings and don't score any runs, like drag out those at bats, grind out those at bats. I know he doesn't walk guys, but fight off his best pitches. Like get out of here winning 2 out of 3, and then we can erase a little bit of what we feel inside from what we saw tonight. Alex, to answer your question, I don't know the answer to your question because I forgot your question because I've just kept going on. I don't know how we're going to beat this guy, but damn it, we're going to figure out a way.
As David Kaplan and Lou Piniella always say, wake up tomorrow, grab a cup of coffee, and find a way to win a damn baseball game.
Double espresso shot tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Double espresso shot.
Sabrina Carpenter amounts of espresso tomorrow. And also, I'm going to say it, tomorrow, low-key kind of a must-win. Because if you lose 2 out of 3, if you lose 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh and then have to go to Milwaukee with basically no momentum, and look, Milwaukee's not world beaters so far this season. I understand that. But this is the team that's taken your lunch money for several years now. This is the time to get them back. You need to get the snowball rolling in the right direction before you head to Milwaukee on Friday night. So
one more point I want to make really quick.
Yeah.
A guy who does need to I know what he has done. I know his name is the topic of everything Cubs.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
Kyle Tucker is 2 for 22 in his last 6 games.
Yep.
You want to be a superstar, which he is. Don't get me wrong, he is. But you really want to you want to add a few extra dollars. You want to add a few extra fans, even though you have the entire city behind you, Kyle Tucker. Figure out a way to put one over the Clemente wall over there because this kid, these little stretches, they find a way to just get out of them immediately. We need to see him step it up tomorrow a little bit. It's been he looked pissed tonight. He looked really frustrated with his at-bats. One other point to make too, Dansby Swanson 4 for 7 since going to the 8-hole. Ian Happ 43 game on base streak at PNC Park. I just wanted to add a few little things that, one negative, but finish it off with 2 positives there, Alex. That's how we do things here at the Setup Man.
Absolutely. Let's win a damn baseball game tomorrow. Let's go to Milwaukee. Let's kick their ass. And in fact, this is our last weekday postgame show, so we will be back Sunday night. Cubs and Brewers play at 1:10 on Sunday, but we will have our 6:30 p.m. Central show on Sunday night. This was a fun show. I know that the result for the game sucked. But I think the Mo Baller conversation is something that I don't think enough people are talking about. They were today, because obviously what he's doing is video game-esque. But hopefully you'll learn something by watching/listening today. So anyone that watched, wherever, And however you watched or listened, thank you. We appreciate you, Setup Nation. Make sure on your way out the door, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Thank you for all the comments. I see there's a ton of comments that we didn't even get to like half of them because there were so many and they were coming in hot and heavy. So if we didn't get to yours, we apologize, but it was a good conversation tonight. So for Ty, I'm Alex. Thank you. We will see you Sunday night. But until then, Ty and I are going to go ice up. Let's win a damn baseball game tomorrow.